We did this time.
We're there this time.
Good evening.
Good evening, morning.
Good night.
I'm Michael.
I'm Chuck.
I'm Candy.
We're Blue Flame Ministry, and they are
Encounter Bible Church.
There you go. How's everybody doing? Y'all
Tired.
doing tired? Don't start.
Yeah. So we're all giggling because we went through the countdown thinking we were going to go live, and then kept refreshing so we could do the sharing and everything. And then someone realized they forgot to push the go live button, so we're sitting here anxiously waiting for the countdown. But we weren't going to go live because someone didn't push the button.
I didn't push the button. Okay, and as you can see, Chuck put his email down for the church, and we put ours down for the ministry. That is, if you have anything that you need us to pray for, you can always email or message us on Facebook. Tonight we are going to be in Matthew chapter 23 and 24. And we're going to study it.
And any kind of commentaries, we can see them here, and we'll try and, because they're off to the side, we'll try and be paying attention to that. We're going to do things just a tad bit different. We're going to read a little section of whatever section, and then we're going to be looking in, if you want to follow along, if you get in your search bar and go to Matthew 23 Blue Letter Bible. It's under it's the first one that pops up, at least it was on my screen. David Guzik Study Guide for Matthew 23. It gives you scriptures, and then the little blue italicized scriptures, you just tap on it and it pulls the verse right up. Go ahead.
I shall return.
You do what you got to do. So hopefully this will be a little more organized. We do, just so people may watch now or later, we do these. We're not trying to be a church. We are the church, but we're not trying to be a church type of setting. It's more of a get together, and we communicate about different sections of the Bible or whatever, and just chit chat about it.
Yeah.
And where it goes, it goes.
Yeah.
You know, there's no rhyme or reason. We don't want to be what do you call it? We don't want to be like robotic or super like whatever. We want God to be able to move. So I know a lot of times you go to churches and preacher gets up, talks at you, you listen, you pay your dues, and then you go home. And we're not trying to be that. We're just trying to be regular people. What? So whenever Chuckles gets back, Pastor Chuckles, and for some reason or another, we've got these rays.
Yeah, so ignore the rays. I don't know where they're coming from.
We've spent probably a good 20 minutes trying to figure out what's causing the rays.
I have no clue.
We are rays here, so.
Yeah.
But they've got rays over there, too.
Rain.
Theirs is a rainbow ray. Hey.
God's promises.
Yep. So I do feel like joining in, sharing, whatever, and we'll upload this to YouTube.
Yeah.
So, Master Chuckles, would you like to pray to get this thing started?
Do
it anyway.
Master Chuckles.
Oh, okay. Right.
Okay. You ready? Father God, I thank you for this night. I thank you for the connection that you have brought between the four of us, Father. I just pray now that what we do tonight, that it'll reach out and touch somebody that needs to hear from you, Father. Father, we're all sinners. It doesn't matter of who we are. We all sin. But Father, with you, we know that we are redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. So if anybody has any questions about salvation, Father, I just pray that they would reach out to either us or Michael and Amanda. We ask these things all by the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so the way it starts off is if someone wants to read Matthew 23 verses 1 through 4,
Okay.
and then we'll read what this says and then discuss it, and then the next section of verses.
Where are you? 23, 1 through 4.
And it's also on the whatever on the web. What?
On the yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so the scripture's typed out on the website too.
Okay.
Whatever.
We love you. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, the teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. So you must be careful to do everything they tell you, but do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy, cumbersome loads and put them on other people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them.
Yeah, so that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But what this says is then Jesus spoke to the multitudes of his disciples. Jesus spoke to these groups, but he spoke about the scribes and Pharisees. Of course, these hardened opponents of Jesus listened, but in a sense, Jesus was finished speaking to them. Instead, he intended to warn the people and his followers about them. The true target of the whole discourse is the crowds and disciples who need to break free from Pharisaic legalism. Perhaps a year earlier, Jesus had begun to denounce the Pharisees, and the lookup verse is Matthew 15:7. Do you want to read that?
15:7.
Yeah.
Ye hypocrites. Well, did
Esaias prophesy of you, saying,
you hypocrites, well did Esaias prophesy of you, saying, this people dwelleth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.
Yeah, so that was where he warned the disciples of the teachings of the Pharisees and Sadducees.
Do you need me to read verse 9 too? Or just
says 7.
Okay.
And then Matthew 16:5 through 12 says, or is a warning and denunciations in public. If we want to read it, just leave it as
what is it?
Matthew 16:5 through 12. Yeah.
And when he 5 through 12, go ahead.
Well, go ahead. I was listening to you. I was asking if that was 5 through 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when his disciples were come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Then Jesus said unto them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees.
Sadducees. It's a weird word.
And they reason among themselves, saying, it is because we have taken no bread. Which when Jesus perceived, he had said unto them, O ye of little faith, why reason ye among yourselves, because ye have brought no bread? Do we not yet understand, neither remember of the 5 loaves and the 5,000, and how many baskets ye took up? Neither the 7 loaves of the flour neither 7 loaves of the 4,000, and how many baskets ye took up? How is it that ye do not understand that I spake it not to you concerning bread, that ye should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees? Then understood. What'd you say? 5 through what?
12.
Then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees.
All right. And then are you on the website?
No, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
getting right back. Hold on a second.
Okay. Well, then I'll read this part. It says that there's seven types of Pharisees. 6 of the 7 listed here are bad. And I read this earlier and thought it was kind of interesting because we can relate to this because it's still around today. Shoulder Pharisees, those who wore all their good deeds and righteousness on their shoulder for everyone to see. The wait a little Pharisees, who always intend to do good deeds, but could always find a reason for doing them later, not now. The bruised and bleeding Pharisees, who was so holy that he would turn his head away from women seen in public and was therefore constantly bumping into things and tripping, thus injuring himself. The humpback Pharisees, who was so humble that he walked bent over and barely lifting his feet so everyone could see just how humble he was. The always counting Pharisee, who was always counting up his good deeds and believed that he put God in debt to him for all the good he had done. The fearful Pharisees, who did good because he was terrified that God would strike him with judgment if he did not. And the God-fearing Pharisee, who really loved God and did good deeds to please God that he loved. I mean, that some of those are there's 2 or 3 in different people that you see, and sometimes there's just one. I thought that was kind of interesting how it kind of sums it up in those little definitions or whatever.
One second, Michael. Sorry. My uncle just got a hold of me and said that somebody just sent him a friend request from my page. So I've been hacked.
Oh, you've been hacked. Nice.
Or it's a fake account, one or the other.
So far, I don't think I've been hacked. Maybe I have. I don't know.
I have once.
How
when
do they
we
get
were
it?
in West Virginia.
Yeah. I mean, nothing crazy has happened.
Yeah.
So
well, and there was we did get hacked, the barbershop business page, and someone kept posting inappropriate stuff. So I kept getting these notifications, and this is after we closed the shop down. But I kept getting these notifications about inappropriate content. I was like, "What? I haven't even gone to the page in forever. I don't even know." So I really don't even know whatever happened with that because the page is fine now.
Yeah.
But then it says, whatever they tell you to observe, that observe and do. This is Jesus talking. He said that respect was due to the scribes and Pharisees, not because of their conduct, but because they sit in Moses' seat. They should be respected because they hold an office of authority, ordained by God.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we all kind of learned that with the last president. It's not the person you necessarily respect, but you got to respect the position, the authority that God's given in those situations. Synagogues had a stone seat at the front where the authoritative teacher sat. The Jews spoke of the teacher's seat as we speak of a professor's chair. And then it says, Jesus says, they bind heavy burdens hard to bear, and lay them on men's shoulders. The scribes and Pharisees were bad examples because they expected more of the others than they did of themselves, which we see that all the time.
Right.
And I know a lot of preaching is not just to the crowd, but it's to the one doing the preaching too.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I think in legalism and stuff, it's expected to do as I say, not as I do. You know what I mean?
Right. And we're seeing a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the problem with legalism is that they, and I think later on it gets into it, but they place the rules and regulations above God.
Yeah.
The bylaws and all that. We've talked about bylaws and all that in churches and stuff. So I mean, there's churches out there that were started years ago by people who are long gone,
Mm-hmm.
but the bylaws were written and voted on, and so now the whole church has to abide by those. You know,
Right. That's not to cut you off, but that's what whenever we talked about it, we won't have no bylaws here. We have assurance. That's it. We run with what God has done.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna listen to somebody else or bow down to bylaws. I refuse to do that. We bow down to God, not man.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, just like today, the religious leaders a lot of times were burden bringers. Jesus was a burden taker.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first accusation against these religious leaders could apply to many religious leaders today. Many teach as if the essence of Christianity were a set of burdensome rules to follow.
Mm-hmm.
The early church rejected this legalism when it insisted that obedience to the Mosaic law is not foundation for the Christian life. Peter told the legalists in Acts 15:10, why do you test God by putting a yoke on the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? I think that's one thing that kind of hard to believe with the Jewish people not accepting Jesus, not accepting the New Testament. Because in all reality, who can really abide by the law? You know what I mean?
Right. That blows my mind. That the Jewish people, okay, stand with those Israel, 1,000%. But the Jewish people have not opened up or have a Bible with the New Testament in it. That still blows my mind.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah. And I guess they look at it, not in their defense or whatever, but I guess they kind of almost look at it like we look at the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why was the Old Testament added too? Well, it was because the New Testament came about.
Mm-hmm.
And if the New Testament contradicted the Old Testament, then it would be false.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Tea?
Is that Mullen tea?
Ugh.
It looks like you have a great big safety pin.
Oh, it's my little
Steeper.
tea steeper.
Oh, okay.
I have because I got loose leaf tea Mullen for my lunch because I felt like something was coming down on me, so I was like, "No, we're gonna nip this in the butt."
Oh, that'll do it. So I'm gonna put this comment up there from Nicholas. Unless it's civil disobedience, Martin Luther King, he preached on this a lot. If anything goes against the will of God or his commandments and man tells you to do one thing that's contrary to God's will, who will
Whose will?
whose will do you follow? But of course, we all know we're going to follow God if we're true believers and followers of Christ. Exactly, which is, kind of hand in hand with what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're a
Messianic.
Jew.
Messianic Jew.
So anyway, I mean, and that's all just in verses 1 through 4. There was a lot said there, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that I think we can all relate to, because we're old enough now. We've been in a lot of churches. We've seen a lot of things.
Yeah.
You want to read chapter or
Are you on the website yet?
I can't find the website.
Oh, for the love of
send
here.
it?
Good grief. You know why? Droid.
No, sometimes he doesn't know how to word things right whenever he's searching.
Oh, hush it.
If you want to, while he's looking for the website, that's apparently a hard thing.
Ray,
I got it.
you got it.
Yeah.
If you want to read 23, 5 through
8.
10,
Okay.
and then you can read the commentaries if you want.
Okay.
Where's all the
And I'm-
commentaries? Where's the commentaries at?
Have
On
you
the
gone
computer.
to the?
Commentaries on there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's down where it says you get through it, and then it says A, and then B.
Okay. Then
So on number 2, which is Matthew 23, 5 through 10. And she's going to read that, and then under that, it's got A, B, and then all the numbers.
Oh, there's the other bunch.
Yeah. There's a lot here.
It explains it. I'm also reading out of the KJV. But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their
Phylacteries. That's a word I had to look up.
phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments, and love the uppermost rooms at feasts and the chief seats in the synagogues, and greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren. And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Christ.
And the commentary explains all of this. And did you notice I called him Master Chuckles? Did that for a reason. Because I was born this way. Hey.
Time to be serious.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. So, A. All the works they do to be seen by men. The religious leaders were guilty of advertising their righteous deeds. They acted out the religious spirit Jesus spoke against in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 6, 1 through 6. Who wants to go there and read it?
I can do it.
My wife's down there.
Well, daggum.
6 what?
6, 1 through 6.
Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, you do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you.
Okay, then it goes on. It says they make their phylacteries broad and enlarge the borders of their garments. Both the phylacteries, small leather boxes with tiny scrolls tied to the arm and head with leather straps. And the broad of their garments were worn in the attempt to conform to the Mosaic law. Deuteronomy 11:18. Who wants to go there?
I gotcha.
And then Numbers 15:38 through 40. Who wants to go there?
Numbers what?
Numbers
15.
38 through 40.
So while you're looking that up, Deuteronomy 11:18. Therefore shall ye lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your head, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. Here's this right here if you want.
Is this?
Yeah, the whole thing.
Speaking to the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations. And they put upon the fringe of the borders a rib band of blue. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of the Lord, and do them. And that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after ye used to go a whoring, that ye may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy unto your God.
Okay. So these were called phylacteries from the ancient Greek word to keep things wherein the law was kept. Paul. It was natural for these religious leaders to believe that border phylacteries and larger borders on their garments showed them to be more spiritual. The idea of wearing the phylacteries and the special borders of their garments was obedience to what God commanded Israel under the covenant given at Mount Sinai. The use of these things to promote the image of super spirituality was the fault of human sinfulness, not of the command itself. They loved the best places, greetings in the marketplaces. Not content to display their supposed spirituality, the religious leaders loved it when people admitted their supposed spirituality. They coveted the seats of honor and at banquets and at the synagogue, and they loved the honoring titles such as rabbi and father. There is therefore an emphasis to be put upon the word love. They might take salutations in the upper room, if offered them as their due for keeping civil order, but not affect them. But do you know? Okay, but you do not be called rabbi, for one is your teacher, the Christ, and you of all the brethren. Jesus warned the people that they should not imitate the scribes and the Pharisees at this point. His followers should always remember that you are all brethren, and that one should not be exalted above other by titles that are either demanded or received. And that exhortation, which today's church could profitably take more seriously, not in relation to formal ecclesiastical titles. So it would be most reverend, my lord bishop, etc. But more significantly, in its excessive deference to academic qualifications or to authorize status in the churches. Do not be called rabbi. Do not call anyone on earth your father. Do not be called teachers. Jesus warned his listeners and us against giving anyone inappropriate honor. One may have a father or teachers in a normal human sense, but should not regard them in a sense that gives them excessive spiritual honor or authority. In the Church of Christ, all titles and honors which exalt all men and give occasion for pride are here forbidden. That's from Charles Spurgeon. From the rest of Scripture, we can see that Jesus did not intend this as an absolute prohibition, rather as speaking to the heart that loves, collects, and cherishes such titles. We know this because under inspiration of the Holy Spirit, godly men spoke of themselves with some of these titles. Jesus called Rabbi, Matthew 26:25 and 26:49, John 1:38 and 3:26. Paul called himself a father, 1 Corinthians 4:15. Philippians 2:22. Paul called other Christians his children, Galatians 4:19. Paul, the same one that was persecuting Christians, are now calling him their children.
That's something.
Paul called himself a teacher, 1 Timothy 2:7, 2 Timothy 1:11. Oh, wow.
It's a lot.
That which
That's
forbids is, one, an affection of such titles and hunting after them. Right? Yeah, I don't have that word. The exercise of the absolute mastership of a paternal absolute power. What is that, Michael? Tituli?
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 I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's a Roman word. But I mean, that aside, that's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So in other words, don't be an attention whore.
what's the name?
Too many people are doing that.
From TITULI.
I think it's Ratatouille.
The bad thing was I was thinking it.
I bet you were.
Michael just.
No, I wasn't the only one.
I was. Ratatouille.
So, you want me to continue reading?
Yeah, that's fine.
Nevertheless,
can.
this command is often ignored and violated today in the way people give and receive titles such as, wait a minute, wait. We're going to start this all over. Nevertheless, this command is often ignored and violated today, violated today in the way people give and receive titles such as prophet, apostle, most reverend, and so on. It is also seen in the expedited etiquette for those for closing a letter to the Pope. Give me a second.
Dum dum dum.
You know what? Can I say something real quick, and then you can take back off?
Please do.
It's so funny because I don't know. Reading out loud has always been scary to me. And so the other night, when we got off of doing our
Thing.
whatever, God really put in my heart because there was a song that like kept playing in my head, and I was like, that's weird. That's coming from Revelation. And I was like, what do you want me to do? And it was almost like he's like, read, like out loud, read to the people. And so I had to start in Revelation 5. I can read to myself really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But you get people in front of me and my words get jumbled up. I read something that is not even there.
Just did.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like and it's so funny because it's almost like God is building, like strengthening that part of my, like, yeah.
He knows you have the courage.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know you have the courage?
Exactly.
Trust me.
That's another talk another day.
To listen to a preacher is one thing, but for God to call you to get up and do it, there's days where I look at the Bible and I'm just like, what's that name?
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes some some of the words just run together.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest fear. But you know what? God didn't instill fear in us.
Yeah.
Right. But isn't it interesting that I've always said that I wish somebody could become the president that didn't think they were qualified. So this was years ago. I was working as the maintenance person in a church. And the assistant came up to me, the assistant to the pastor, and he said, "Would you be willing to teach the pastor's Sunday school class while he's on vacation?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely not." And he's like, he said, "Why not?" And I was like, just because I don't feel comfortable doing that. He said, "You've been to Bible school, you've done all the things. Why would you not?" And I said, "Because I'm wise enough to know that I'm not wise enough to teach the pastor's Sunday school class. So what happens if I get up there and I speak something in his class that he is against? That's one of those gray area things, but he's really passionate about. And I speak, you know what I'm saying? So I'm smart enough to know I'm not smart enough to teach his class.
Yeah.
And all that, I guess, mentioning the president thing, it's the same with a lot of church leaders, a lot of positions in the church. And it's funny how, the pride jumps in once you get a title that maybe you start off feeling like you don't deserve.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You get that title, and then people start referring to you as pastor or preacher or whatever your new title is. And then you start seeing, and you can see a change in character.
Yep.
So someone who once talked to a peasant in the church, no longer, they don't fit into their clique anymore. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the sad part of it. I mean, it is. But,
It is.
and I say this to a lot of people. They're just like, "Well, you're a pastor. How do you want?" I said, "I'm Chuck.
Mhm.
Chuck. That's it.
Yeah.
Title is a title. I don't care about titles. I can't stand a title, but I know that's what God has done over us and myself. Stepping into a role as a pastor is one thing, but stepping into the role of pastor, but also being myself, the person that God called to do, is totally opposite, because I'm still me. And that's what I try to get out there to people. Yeah, God changed me. God put us here for this certain thing. Don't get that confused to where, oh, well, now you think I'm going to be better than you. No, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the problem I've always had with having to refer to, and I don't have a problem referring to someone as pastor or preacher or whatever, but I don't necessarily think that if I say Chuck, that I'm disrespecting you,
No.
as long as I'm respecting the position that's being held.
Right.
That's your name.
Yeah.
And I've never felt like just because someone is saved that I need to refer to them as brother
Right.
Six, brother Michael, brother this, brother that. I don't even call my own brother, and he's my physical brother. You know, it'd be weird to me to go up to someone, "Hey, brother Dusty." No,
Yeah.
it's
No.
weird. That's my brother. I just call him by the first name. So I don't understand why everything has to be so rigid in churches by putting these neat little titles in front of people's name, and then someone gets ordained, so now all of a sudden, instead of using their first name, we've got to say pastor, and then either their first or last name. They're just people. They put their pants on and take them off just like I do.
Absolutely.
And yes, I do respect their position, but that doesn't mean that I have to coddle and coo them and worship the ground they walk on. And when they walk into a room, be like, "Oh, I'm just not cut out that way."
Yeah. No, I think that's what a lot of these pastors are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's just my thinking. And I think you and I think a lot alike about the situation. If somebody says, "Well, I'm pastor," okay, well, good for you. You still have a first name.
Mm-hmm.
I knew you before this. So what you want me to do is bow down to you because you think you're better than me. I'm sorry, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
We all have a calling from God. It doesn't look the same for everybody else.
Right.
So that would be like, I'll put it nicely. Say you're a pastor, okay? But I keep calling you Michael. And you're just like, nope, stop right there. I'm Pastor Michael now. That is somebody blowing their own heads up.
Yep.
And what they're surrounded by, I can't get down with that. I can't.
No, and I've just never, and I think a lot of times that is what causes the head growth. You know what I'm saying? And it's got to be frustrating as a pastor, but at the same time, you being like you are, you're Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
You're not demanding people refer to you as Pastor Chuck.
No.
But people do need to, like I said, they do need to respect the position of the pastor, but they don't need to grovel at your feet.
No.
And so I think if you were to employ someone, right, and you were to ordain them to be a preacher or a speaker or whatever, then I don't think that a church like Encounter would require that its goers, its attendees, refer to the new person as Pastor so and so, or I mean, this isn't freaking Inspector Gadget. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to have these neat little titles because of this right here. We're all on level ground, and I understand we all have different positions, but don't just because your position is pastor, and I'm talking just in general, just because your position is pastor, don't look down on those of us whose position is layman, trim carpenter, barber, street ministry worker. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times I think that that's part of the problem is that you've got this big name person, they're prophet so and so, they're pastor so and so, and they're the pastor of a big organization or whatever. And so then that's when people start idolizing that person instead, and that's not necessarily the person's problem.
Yeah.
They idolize the person rather than the God the person is preaching.
So I think whenever people do get that title, they set their standards higher on themselves.
Yeah.
And she was trying to post you, but they set their own standards. But where's God in those standards?
Right.
God is the one that ultimately called them.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you start putting your own stamp of approval on things, okay, that's your stamp of approval. That goes for anybody in the world.
Yeah.
But where's God's stamp of approval on it? If you say, well, I can't. I'll say this. They'd be like you, both of you, going somewhere. Everybody knows that you're with us, correct? Everybody knows that you're part of this church. Huge part of it. But if somebody would contact me and say, well, Michael and Amanda's doing this, well, I can't put my stamp of approval on that because they didn't come through me first. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's not for me. That's for God. That's God's stamp of approval on you guys. It's not on me.
Yep.
So I had to say that because too many people were throwing that out there.
Yeah.
I heard it countless times. I can't put my stamp of approval on something, or this or that. Get over it. Give me
that makes me think back when Linnea got married the first time. We were going to this whatever church, and so she had been divorced, and she was getting remarried, and for whatever reason, the pastor at the church him and his wife didn't approve of them getting married, and they knew that.
So that was their stamp of approval, trying to say. Yeah.
Well, the pastor's wife had my sister go out with her just so that she could sit there and tell her that they weren't sanctioning her wedding. First of all, who asked? And nobody asked for anyone to sanction anyone's wedding.
No.
They had already planned, and the reason was because he was born and raised Catholic.
Mhm.
And nobody knew it until after they were married. But he had gotten saved before they had gotten married because me and my brother were witnessing to him, trying to make sure that he knew that he was saved before he got married.
Right.
Well, because of all the stink about it, he didn't tell anyone until after they were married. So it was a biblical marriage, right? But this preacher's wife felt like she was qualified to pull my sister aside and tell her, well, we're even though that wasn't going to be at the church, it wasn't going to be performed by the pastor, his wife wasn't going to be playing the piano, there was nothing going on with the church. It was going to be at my parents' house. But she felt qualified because she was pastor's wife to call my sister for this lunch date just to inform her that her or her husband is not sanctioning or putting their stamp of approval on the wedding. Well, excuse me. I'm glad she didn't. If she'd have called me in, it would have been a totally different outcome to that conversation. I don't care. I don't need anyone's approval. I don't need ordination papers. I don't need a fancy title. I don't care nothing about it. And I don't. It's sad because the church is. I mean, if you stop and think about it, the church is a business now.
Unfortunately.
Just like you got a warehouse, you got CEOs, you've got all these different fancy titles. In a church, you have the pastor, then you have, deacons, and you have elders, and you have assistant pastor so and so, and this pastor for pastor over the youth, pastor over the this, and it starts getting like it is literally run like a business. And that's one thing that we decided when we started doing. And I know it's not a church, but if you stop and think about it, when we're ministering to a group of homeless people and we're able to get to those same homeless, we are their pastor.
That's exactly right.
So, but we don't need all that fancy stuff, and I don't need anyone's approval or disapproval as to what we're doing or whatever. And we decided when we started it, though, that we weren't going to operate it like a business.
No 501c3, nothing.
We're not. We don't carry fancy titles. And if people want to volunteer with us and go to the homeless or underprivileged or whatever, that's cool. You can do it, and you can do it on a regular. But guess what? You're going to be a regular person just like we are, just like they are.
And just like we are.
We're not getting into all that legalistic crap of pastor so-and-so.
All it is a religion chaos freaking migraine is what it is.
Confusion.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why whenever this all came about with the Encounter Bible Church from God, we're not operating in a business-like mind. You two already know that. People want to tithe, please do.
And they should.
I encourage you to. I'm going to wind up spilling your coffee.
You're going to end up wearing it.
Like a warm. But if people want to give, okay, cool. And I'm saying that nicely because I have somebody staring at me. I'm not going to say what I used to say. I got rebuked on that one. But if people want to tithe, please.
Nicely.
It will help.
Well, and we've got the thing going down there.
Yeah.
And in all actuality, we don't typically get on it, and sometimes we'll post about a need, a person that needs this or that or this and that, and whatever comes in for that goes to that.
So can I say something?
Yeah.
So Encounter Bible Church, I discussed it with you guys earlier before we got on here. We have a need for the church. We have a need. We need to get some tarps put down. We need to get some stone put down. Yes, that we actually need people to tithe into the ministry. That's what's going to help. Go ahead.
I'm going to suggest Amazon wish list.
Okay.
Only because that is so much easier for people to be able to, if they want to tithe that way, they can just click the link and it'll be sent to you. So that's
some of the landscaping stuff that is going to be needed for the church isn't able to.
Yeah, that's a local type thing.
That you can get. Do y'all have like a Lowe's and stuff?
Yes.
Okay, so on Amazon you can get a gift card for Lowe's and Home Depot or whatever.
Right.
So that's another thing that you can do. That's just suggestions, though.
But you know, and it's not wrong. And people need to understand. And I think the problem is because we might not get any further, and that's cool. But I think for so long, we've heard give sacrificially, give till it hurts, give, that we're just tired of hearing give.
Mm-hmm.
So
But in all reality, that is how ministries function, is through people that are willing to give to help them out.
All right.
Without that, yes, God provides, but God provides through who? People.
Through
Yeah.
people.
And so, if it wasn't for the Holy Ghost conviction on people to give towards Blue Flame Ministry, then it wouldn't be here.
right. So two things. We're going to start Wednesday night services, the four of us. Okay. We're going to put it out there. Whoever wants to join in, please join in. We are a church that loves people joining in, commenting. We will read every comment humanly possible. If possible, we're going to start it next week.
I'm so excited.
So the second thing. Okay, now I have three things. Sorry. The second thing. We're holding fundraisers for the church for the revival in September. Third, goes back to the tithing. So many churches have said about tithing this, tithing that, sowing in, sowing that. People hear it. And then when somebody comes along, the big churches have ruined it for the small churches, the ones that are actually doing God's work the way that they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And we are an open book. The four of us are an open book. If people want to see what is tithed into our ministry, we will show you literal proof. We will show you where your tithing goes. Go ahead. Say it.
Nice.
Did you hear what she just said? Be nice.
I saw his face.
I always do.
No, you don't.
Okay, so my eyes are getting red. I can feel it.
Then you don't need to say it.
Okay, so we'll move on. Let me put this up there because. So we're reading about the legalism in that time of the religious leaders, which Jesus constantly confronted. Some people would say aggressively, but exactly. And we were talking about that last night.
Mhm.
Everyone's like, Jesus is love, and he is.
He is.
But he got steamed from time to time. And some of the things he said, wow.
Yeah.
But sarcastically at times, and trying to correct them and show them the error of their ways. Ask you a question in today's society, and the legalism that is in the church is now what examples of what spiritual leaders are doing now can comparison to what spiritual leaders were doing then, because there's nothing new under the sun. Solomon says why didn't it stop with they? But yeah, that was good. And then Jesus says to be a cheerful giver. He loves nothing more than a cheerful giver. And some people, when they give, look like it's definitely not coming from a heart. Thank God Jesus knows the heart. Exactly. And the word in the Bible is hilariously, which I'm not sure. I always thought that was kind of weird. Like, are we supposed to go up and giggle when we drop $1 in the offering plate? Like, it's, but I understand. I have every time preachers talk about hilariously, I'm picturing people going up like giggling. It's just like, I've always wished I had the guts to go up in church and drop like a quarter in and be like,
My mouth's bleeding.
but I mean, that's what it says, whatever. But at the same time, I've heard churches that are in building, and I'm not talking about any specific church because I've been in a whole bunch of them, and there's been building projects in pretty much every one of them, and have heard give sacrificially, give till it hurts. So they want you to give sacrificially till it hurts, so that the church can be debt free, because a servant is lend, or how do they say it? What's the
people
verb?
that are giving are broke.
Yeah, exactly. So they want the church to be financially stable, but the individuals in the church, which is actually the church, are broke and are paying interest on the money that they gave to the church so that the church could be finance free. Go ahead.
How long have you been in church?
Since I was 9 days old.
I thought it was 4 days old.
No, you said it wrong the other day.
I am so sorry.
Correct you. It
You
was
should have.
9. No, because then you should correct me.
What were you going to say, Amanda?
That's it. Oh, because
You have a lot to say. Say it.
So, okay, so I am going to go back.
I'm going to go ahead and say something.
I'm doing it.
I am.
Well,
When he is speaking about a church or whatever, please understand, it's not about Global Vision. He's been to church since he was 9 days old. So we will not get on here and bash Global Vision or pastor at all.
no, there's no reason to.
I hope people from the hate group watches this. This is no exposure whatsoever.
No.
And will never be.
No.
We love Pastor Greg.
Yeah.
And let me add to that. I have messaged him numerous times that we are here for the long haul.
That's right.
And when I say that, or when I say I've got your back, we've got your back, we got your back, and we are here for the long haul.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get it all twisted up thinking that just because our presence is absent right now, that we still don't got people's back. And this is something that I know that there's been a lot of what's going on. There's people that just keep. It's like we are a distraction to certain people that are there for nefarious reasons, and I know it.
Yeah.
And I have no problem approaching them. They don't have a problem approaching me, though. And the problem with that is that I know me, and I know one more approach, it's going to be a problem. Yeah. Because I have my pastor's back. And until these certain people scales are removed and are seen for what they are, because I know I can see them, and I've told them I can see them, then it's best to lay low. You know what I'm saying? But there's not going to be ever a bashing session. There's just not, because I don't have any reason to.
Nobody really has a reason to. It's just people are filled with hate.
it's pointless. It's so if and if it ever gets to a point where we are just poof gone, then I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there. Look, I'm not going to sit there. If I get irritated at you, I'm not going to sit there and constantly watch every move you make.
Right.
You know
and
what I'm
then
saying?
bash you.
And then criticize it just fine. Oh, he mispronounced a word, you know, and post it on it. No, we're grown.
Yeah. Obviously, these are child games. They want to play child games. Guess what? The old saying goes, play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
Am I calling you stupid? I'm calling what you're doing stupidity. If you have an issue with that, come to me personally. I don't have a problem talking to anybody. But just stop the nonsense.
No. And you know, it's just I mean, and I think we've said more about that than we said we ever would say, but I think it needs to be perfectly clear that we are not against. It's the fact that there is nefarious people that have got to be they've got to be noticed. Instead of being held on a pedestal, they need to be noticed. And one of those has already exposed himself.
Mm-hmm.
I called him out. She called him out. Everybody called him out. Whatever. It was it was reported, and then it showed itself. This was all a God thing. It wasn't a Michael and Amanda thing. It was a God thing that led to, it was a message that was given, and then it was like, oh, hold on a minute. That wasn't just for one person. That was for a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And we acted on that after praying extensively about it.
Right.
And so that's that.
Yeah.
So is Michael and Amanda wrong? Decide for yourself. Look at the fruits. Look at the fruits of others. One are people, and this goes back to not letting your right hand know what your left hand's doing, and vice versa. And I hesitated to make a Facebook page about the homeless ministry just because I didn't want to come across as that. But there needs to be awareness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there needs to be awareness for that.
I'm glad you said something about that. Do you have more to say?
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so we're not trying to lift ourselves up by saying, told you so. No, but stop and think. Stop and think is all I'm asking people who will watch this, whether you're for or against, don't care. Stop and think. And that goes with everything. Stop and think. Stop and think.
Instead of taking 45-second clips of a message, listen to the whole message.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And then stop and think about where we've been for the last 3 years, okay? And our roles and what we've done and what compared to what other people have said they will do or have done.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So you've got these people that and this is just everyday life, but you got these people that are like, see what I've done, see what I've done, see what I've done. I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. And then you've got some people that they don't speak of what they have done.
Mm-hmm.
I could get on here or anywhere else, and I could post out a whole bunch of different things that have been done unaware, right? But why?
Where does
And so all I'm asking people that will watch this and probably have people watch it or will watch it themselves or whatever, to just, before you blackball anyone, stop and think. Pray about it. What have these people done versus what these people have said they will do or have done?
Right.
Has this group of people bragged about anything? Has this group of people posted anything? Has this group of people told you what they're going to do or what they have done or whatever? Is there any tangible And for people who don't know, that means touchable. Is there anything you can touch and you can see this person's fruit versus this person's fruit? Is this person's fruit tangible, or is this one's just a bunch of air? My rant is over.
So we used to go minister and serve down at Tent City in Nashville. They call it the O Tent City. It's over on Atheist Drive. And I want to speak on that for a minute because there's been a couple of news posts out about them. So when we went down there, we've only seen one baby. And we saw three. We saw one that didn't belong down there, and he brought her down. And I told him, no, you need to turn around and go back home. You got a baby with you. The baby does not need to be down here. Because they burn, what they do is whenever they get through with their bathroom, which is usually a 5-gallon bucket, they throw the feces and stuff into there was a dumpster down there, and then they would catch the dumpster on fire. So you would breathe in all the
chemicals.
Yeah. But anyway, and then there were two, it was a lesbian couple that used to come down there, and they came just for the food that I made. And they would sometimes bring their 2 children down. So other than that, we have been blessed to not see any homeless children. We were completely blessed to not see any. And I say that because we have very soft hearts when it comes to children and our elders. And if I would have seen a child, an innocent little baby down there at the homeless camp, I would have lost it.
Well, and it
I
was
would've
bad
completely
enough. There
lost
was a
it.
couple times we saw pregnant women down there tripping on drugs.
Yes, and that was
rough.
That was hard to watch. That was hard to see. So, I wanna hopefully y'all can see this. I want to show the picture. So, this particular site is exactly where our Leo was at. It's just a different tent, obviously.
Wow.
And then this right here, what I'm about to show you guys is, so basically when you turn onto Atheist Drive, on the left, there's like a fenced-in area.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of campers. And I can't speak about that.
I can.
Wow.
And then there's one of our people. So, see, I know what he's fixing to talk about. But the police evidently went down to Tent City and saw that there was 2 littles that could barely walk or whatever that was walking around with no shoes on, soiled clothes, the whole 9. Let me get to it. I don't want to say it incorrectly. Oh, there's more pictures. No, there's not. It said, "O Tent City, a homeless encampment in downtown Nashville, continues to be a problem." So I can say to that one. Metro Police said over the weekend 2 homeless people left their young children unattended there in Saturday's severe storm and were neglected. The parents are in Davidson County Jail on charges of felony child neglect. That's not the one that I was looking for. Hold on. Isn't
I
it?
thought that was the one.
No, because the other one that I saw had more detail to it. It had the ages of the babies, but they were like 2 and 3 or something like that. They were really young.
Mhm.
So the dad, I guess, or the boyfriend, whatever he was, admitted that he had been drinking and doing drugs while the mom went out to get water for their camp, for their tent.
Well, it was during the rain,
Yeah.
and yeah,
It's easy for a person to walk around down there, and if it's flooding the way it is, they will slide right down into because there's no bank on that river.
it's just kind of a drop.
You go to the edge and it's gone.
Wow.
And God had led us there back 3 years ago, and then God kind of led us over to Hermitage because it was getting stagnant there. Nobody really wanted help as far as going to rehab, this, that, and other. Yes, we are still alive. Anyway, and nobody wanted help. They were stagnant. They loved where they were at. They didn't want out of it. And if they were married, they didn't want to separate, this, that, and other. So God was like, here's your new camp. So we started serving over at Hermitage. And we got about 3 or 4 people out of there, but they all went back, unfortunately, because they weren't ready. I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, and it's like I said on that news thing. Our goal is to be there when they are ready,
Yeah.
and while we're there to plant seeds, and we pray that some of the seeds we planted in Nashville, Tent City, even though we're not going there anymore, which we would go there, but we just haven't felt led to go there right now. You know, that might change. But that someone else will come along and water those seeds, you know. But anyway, all this was kind of got off. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
But I do think that as far as Encounter Bible Church, I think you give your tithes and your offerings. And in the Bible, it talks about giving your tithes, your 10% to your local church. But it doesn't say where to give your offerings.
Right.
I kind of wish that churches wouldn't have spent so much time talking about the 10%.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because then you got people, and I used to be one that would literally 10% and down to the change, you know. And that's not being a cheerful giver, like Nicholas said. You know, if you've got to sit there and count every penny, every nickel that you hand over to the church, and if you do it for a tax write-off, not interested in your money.
No, keep it.
No.
That's a shame of it because people are like, "Oh, this is a tax write-off." Okay, well then, why are you even doing it?
Hey, and if you want it, it's a $30,000 you got to give in order to get it. $20,000 you got to give in order to get a tax write-off. I mean, really. I mean, that's
$20,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's not just $20,000 once. That's $20,000 a year.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, most average people they're not going to be given $20,000.
No.
Most of us are barely surviving.
Yeah.
That's why when I file my taxes and stuff, even though I tithe and whatnot, I sit there and I just sit there and go no because I don't. It's not right.
It isn't right.
No.
Oh yeah, I donated X amount, or I did this, or I did that. Yes, I did this on your tax forms and stuff. No. If you're doing it, like you said, if you're doing it for a tax write-off, it's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
your heart is in it.
Me, that seems like they're expecting to see some of that money that they put out back in their pocket, and that is still wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I think one thing that has stuck out in my mind is the whole titles thing. You know, maybe if we can chill out on that a lot
Yeah.
and not worry so much about um, our titles, I think we would see. I think we would see a big difference in the church world. I mean, you got to have titles in business. You got to have a CEO. You got to have all these neat little titles. But man, when you start throwing out titles at the church, it changes people. I don't care what anyone says.
Yep.
It changes people.
Yeah.
It's like going from boyfriend and girlfriend to engaged. It's just you feel different. Then
Yep.
going to engaged to married, you feel different.
Yep.
And it's really not much different with throwing around titles in the church and everything. And just because you have a title, if you do throw titles around, for God's sake, you don't have to let it go to your head.
No.
You don't have to dress different. You don't have to hang out with different people. You don't have to act different. You can just be yourself.
Yeah. People just use that as just, hey, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
And you know, it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
Sad state of where the church is right now today.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think would have happened? So you think this happened when the great George Whitfield was preaching? Absolutely not.
Probably not.
Absolutely not.
And I got a pretty good feeling that Spurgeon was probably a humble dude.
Yeah.
I doubt that he needed a chiropractor to adjust his back from patting himself on the back.
Yep.
Wow, Nicholas. I would the Holy Spirit guide me. I'm giving, and as far as the cheerfulness goes, I never really had any money. I was homeless for a while, and even when I had a home, I didn't have electricity or water in it. I was living in the dark, so for me to have even the littlest amount of money, it's cheerful, and I really love giving it back to the Lord because that's the only way I have any money is because of Him. That's why I love Proverbs 30, the prayer that's in that Solomon says in there, Lord, don't give me too much or I may forget about you. No, and Lord, don't give me too little or I might curse you, but give me just enough. Give me my daily bread, and love it when the Lord gives you just enough. He's doing that in my life right now. I did a budget today and he's got everything down to the exact dollar. I don't have any more or less at the end of the month. But I love it, and I know he's abundantly and wonderfully going to send increase. But there's such a process in his increase. He always makes sure there's a storehouse, and he always makes sure that the type of steward or person that can handle the abundance that he's about to give. And in that abundance, cheerfulness pours out in you, giving and love for your church locally and for your offering globally. Exactly.
Mm.
You know, people take so many scriptures out of context. God will provide all your needs according to his riches and glory. And they take that and they use that as prosperity.
Yep. So
God will provide all your needs.
yeah. So how many churches are we seeing just today? I'm just going to say even local churches. Why do you have to have thousands upon thousands upon thousands, dare I say millions of dollars? Where's all that money going?
Mm.
Why are you, that's the second time
I noticed that.
Are you actually giving or are you just receiving?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to say, dare I say, half of them, if not 3/4 of them,
Or
are taking. Is everybody hearing me? They're taking it. They're not giving back.
Right. Is there ever in ministry, is there ever a reason for monthly fees, for stores, for book sales, for tumbler sales, for clothing sales, for charging for schooling, or when does it get to a point? When does it get to a point when you've got enough? And you can say, okay, you know what? At this point, we are considering ourselves a legitimate nonprofit organization, and we're going to not profit. We're going to go ahead and give you shirts, and we're going to give you tumblers, and we're going to give you an education for free. It's not going to cost you because the people before you already paid your debt.
Mhm.
Is that ever?
That's wrong. First and foremost, very wrong. So I'm going to share something. It has to do with my lovely bride. You guys know about this, but nobody else does until just now. God, notice I said God, not Chuck and not Candy, but God has laid heavily stuff on my wife. And I'm going to wind up getting smacked for this, but I don't care because it needs to get out there. She's been in the process of making shirts for months. Okay? This isn't just a whim thing. She's been doing this for months, dare say almost a year. And she has not come out with it publicly. She's not making money off of them. She's making them and giving them away. So I'm saying this nicely, and I know she should be saying it, but I feel the need to say it because I love her dearly. She's been wondering what a name was for her design thing that she does for shirts. And it's going to go public because it's going to take the four of us to do this, and I'm going to wind up getting kicked. But the name of her shirt company is called Daughter of the King Designs. Okay? We're not trademarking that because there's daughters of the king, regardless. Just like woman of God.
I thought that was copyrighted.
Man of God.
Oh, I thought that was a copyrighted phrase that you could only.
Shut up. We're gonna go with this. That what God has done through her is amazing, and I love watching her come up with wonderful designs.
Even though you get so freaking antsy and so freaking mad whenever I'm sitting there telling you, okay, no, that's not what he.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna put something up so everybody can see what she does.
Mm-hmm.
So when we had the barber shop, she got interested in the shirts, tumblers,
Sublimation.
all of that stuff.
Sublimation.
So
Amanda does sublimation,
Mhm.
where Candy does vinyl.
So she wanted all the stuff. So when we had the shop, I mean, and I'm not going to say money was no object or whatever, but we really didn't have to worry so much about finances then. So we got the stuff. I mean, we got all the stuff. And then someone blessed her with a bigger printer so she could print out bigger things. And anyway, there's been times that we've tried to get money because we don't ask for like support. You know what I'm saying? That was offered to us and we accepted it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's gone, and so now we're in survival mode. But she would use that as like a fundraiser, just like you guys. You make shirts and tumblers and coffee mugs and whatever else, and then sell them, which was the same as what we're doing with the haircuts. Give them away. If you would like to donate, then do so.
Mm-hmm.
And we've even sat up at
Several places this year.
several events, and I put the wood burnings out there and all of that.
Behind you.
But it wasn't to get rich. It wasn't to, I mean, we're not charging a monthly fee and then selling a bunch of stuff on top of that.
So this is the back of Candy sweatshirt. You guys have seen it, but this is the world's going to see it.
The funny thing is, I wore it once and you didn't even realize I was wearing it.
Well, that's pretty cool.
So it's just that's just some of the stuff that she can do.
Mhm.
It's not her that's doing it. It's what God's doing through her.
Right.
Let me see that one.
Yes.
That one right behind you.
What,
The black
that
one.
Oh, okay. This one here. That one there.
Yep.
See the back of it too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just what God's doing is just wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't be where we're at today. The four of us, I'm just saying this. The four of us, everybody else can listen to this. That's fine. The four of us would not be where we're at right now if it wasn't for God.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah. And
I love what God is doing.
Oh, 100%. 100
Your chaplain.
for hospital, nursing home when I were at church too. And I started a church at one time. So saw some crazy things that churches really do. And I'm sure you all have too. So I can't believe some of the things they ask of the people of asking the Holy Spirit to guide the people and letting Christ to do the work in them rather than them hanging weights off of the people that they can't even carry around.
yeah, and all of this goes back to the few scriptures that we talked about. I don't know. It's
Nicholas, Candy, I want a Cole shirt.
A what?
A cool shirt.
he said coal, but that's northern for cool.
Cool.
Just like groovy is like 70s for
Nicholas, if you want a shirt, I know he can hear us. If you want a shirt, our email is in the link, encounterbiblechurch@gmail.com. Send me a message, send me your address, and I'm pretty sure we could do something for you.
Don't be sorry, baby.
no, our reading is pretty
Our
cruddy.
reading.
But that's what this is about. This is just again raw and edited. We're not trying to impress nobody.
No. But I know my wife's going to wind up smacking me for that, but you know what?
That's all right. If someone sees this and they do email you and they decide to bless you with something, let them. You know what I'm saying? And that was probably the hardest thing for me when we started doing the Blue Flame Ministry was because we funded it at first, so it was kind of weird when it got to a point where we had to rely on other people. But I mean, I don't regret anything that we've done. We've closing the shop down. I mean, yeah, we're trying to build it up on Saturday so that we can have some finances, like I said, just so we can survive.
Yeah.
And then because the ministry, if without our house and where we live, we don't have the ministry.
Yeah.
If we're out on the streets, then the email is at the top of the comments.
Yeah, just
section.
scroll at the very top, baby. It's up there.
It's just encounterbiblechurch@gmail.com. But yeah, I mean without this, we don't, and we use this house for we store things here. When we were doing the meals, we prepped and cooked the meals here. This whole place was that's the ministry, this is like the headquarters of Blue Flame Ministry. We just happened to sleep here,
Yep.
you know. So, but yeah, and the same is true with you guys. If someone wants to bless you, then let them. And it was extremely hard.
Nicholas, baby, if you can see it, I put it up there on the screen.
Amanda,
Yes.
send me like a blank email once to that email address. Because you know, we've been putting it out there. I don't know if anybody has gotten the email or not. You know what I mean? I don't know if whenever I sent you invites, I don't know if it came up to where it was coming from my Gmail account or if it was coming from the church Gmail account.
It came from Chuck Silks.
So that was your
Okay.
email account.
All right. But yeah, if people want to, that was our biggest thing was we're not asking people for money.
Right.
It's not what it's about. But if people want to bless us, most certainly, that would be amazing because it's going to help with what we need for the church right now.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with
you.
here. We've got donations of clothes, but because finances are so tight, we have to be really, really careful with where we drive the vehicle. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So to get from here to Nashville, that's going to be a trip. It's going to be gas.
Yeah.
And so now we have to be a little more picky with where we go, what we do, what we're able to do. So yeah, I mean, and it's like I've said, I've said it before, and we're willing to fund the ministry by providing the haircuts. And if, like I said, you want to donate, cool, donate. If you don't, then don't.
Yeah.
It's really not a big deal.
Right.
Because either way, it's going to be taken care of. And I know that.
When you walk by pure faith, FAITH, everybody forgets what that is.
Yep.
People want to charge to go preach.
Mm-hmm.
People want this, people want that. No. It's like I said to you guys before, if somebody wants me to go preach somewhere, I'm going. They say, what do you want? Nothing.
Yeah.
You want to bless me? Cool. But I'm coming on with what God's going to open up the door for me to do that.
Yeah.
So it's just, people just need to get over this. Well, I need more money in my pockets because I'm not happy with what I have.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it goes back to be content with whatever state I'm in, and that was Paul writing in a Roman jail under probably.
Do what, baby?
Did you send me an email?
I did.
Not getting it.
You want here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wait a minute.
I'm just making a racket.
So I can't spell, obviously. In the Gmail account.
What did you do?
I forgot to put the R in it.
Oh.
So, how do I fix this, Amanda?
You need to delete that account and then remake a new one.
Okay. Well, how about if we get off of here and I'm going to figure this out with somebody's help.
Oh, someone that knows how to spell, maybe?
Shut up.
You're going to have to delete that.
Yeah, so don't send them an email yet.
Don't send me an email yet.
Send them a message on
Because
Facebook.
I tried to send you one too. and it didn't go through.
Tell Nicholas
I'll bet you if you do in
if you're doing count.
county
Yeah, in county.
in county Bible Church.
Get it here.
But yeah, we'll go ahead and get off of here. When we come back, maybe we'll go some more into Matthew 23 because
Wow.
Sorry.
Oh,
there's a lot in there, and it
Yeah.
really is interesting. And this to me, this is a Bible study. This you don't have to. It's not the quantity; it's the quality.
Yeah.
So when do we do this again?
I don't know. We'll have to talk about your schedule.
Okay, we'll talk about the schedule.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We're going to have to fix that, Nicholas, and we'll message you, okay? Because it's got to be fixed.
Yeah.
So we're going to get off of here. I love you, interworlds, internets, however you say it.
Yeah.
We'll be
Everybody
praying.
have a good night and share this. Maybe someone will get a blessing out of it.
Yep. We love
So-
you guys. Y'all pray for us in the ministry, and we'll pray for you all.
We will be putting the new email address up. Lord Almighty.
All right. Love you guys.
Love you.
you.
Bye.